Moderna admits COVID mRNA shots cause deadly turbo cancers.
All right. Now, do they explain why it's causing the turbo cancers? Because I can give you an opinion here.
Give me the opinion, then I'll tell you what they're saying.
All right. Now, I've been saying this roughly since 2021, because I did a lot of research on this when it first started, the rumblings in 2020 into 19. A lot of the studies were disappeared. All right. Now,
Yes.
when they were doing the testing with the mRNA, which they've been doing for quite some time, they would always see the same pattern in the test animals that they've used this gobbledygook on. That it would initially it would work great, but then the effect wears off quickly, and your immune system has 4 or 5 defensive strategies to fighting
Sounds familiar.
off viruses, cancer, other pathogens.
5 fences of protection?
Yeah. When you get the vaccine, one of those fences gets ramped up to bionic levels, and the other 4 go, oh, he's got it, and they come down. And some of those additional fences of defense guard your body against cancer. And if they're dialed down to 1, and you need them operating at a 4 or 5 to remain cancer-free, guess what's going to happen? There you go.
There you go.
That's the grunt explanation without all the fancy medical terms and what have you.
I would say you probably have some sound medical theory floating around in there.
Yeah, what do you get there?
Because it's a reasonable point of view. Moderna has admitted the COVID mRNA shot that it and other pharmaceutical companies produce can cause deadly turbo cancers. The company was forced to make the admission after billions of DNA fragments were found in vials of the injections. The revelation was made after Dr. Robert Malone, one of the inventors of the technology, recently testified during injuries caused by COVID-19 vaccines hearing. One of the biggest things that the media and big pharma and our own government did this to us as well, was to suppress all of the doctors. There were doctors coming out right away that said, everything you're doing is wrong. All of this, none of this has been tested. If you inject people with this, it's going to have dire consequences. You're going to be killing thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands or even millions. These doctors came out and said all of this stuff. Malone was one of the biggest voices out there, and he's one of the smartest people I've ever read, to be completely honest. There were 2 others from California.
Yeah.
There was a couple of doctors that came out, and they had their lives destroyed.
Well, they had their licenses yanked.
They had their licenses yanked, and they had their lives pretty much destroyed. Malone somehow managed to survive a lot of the criticism. There was the one black female doctor from the Bahamas who was really on it, too.
She was the ivermectin girl.
She was, yeah.
Ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah.
I remember her.
Listen, as soon as this started getting bad in 2020, I already Greenberry Express hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. I had it in my freezer just in case.
I need to get a,
because I'm not screwing around.
I have my basic like combat lifesaver ×3 bag, but I need to get some of that.
Because I remember watching the story about the people on the cruise ship that were in isolation, and they're going through a lot of the stuff that's happening.
They wouldn't let them out of their room on a cruise ship.
So I immediately got on the Greenberry Express. I ordered the medications. I had an oxygen generator already on standby. I mean, I was like, okay, this is going to get turbonuclear. I'm going to be ready. And that's exactly what I did.
It's like the plot of the movie I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Rolled up with the plot of Outbreak.
Yeah.
And the plot of Children of Men. All in one.
And here's the funny part. That oxygen generator I purchased actually saved my mother's life.
Really?
Because she was having stuff at the beginning of the year, shortness of breath, all kinds of problems.
Okay.
I put her on the oxygen generator for a couple hours till it stabilized, and then took her to the emergency room.
I already know about oxygen generators and their value because Charlie Company used to get hammered on like Sunday night and wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go wake up Horn the medic and get an IV bag and turn the oxygen generator on
to recover.
And it cured our hangovers right up. Until our platoon leader looks at you. Isn't
it amazing what we used to get away with when we were young?
Yeah.
because you would drink like a fish and
Yes.
be sick for a day.
Yeah.
At our age, we drink like a fish and we're sick for a week.
Or in the hospital.
Yeah.
Or in the hospital. But the platoon leader's walking down the line.
You look like a bunch of goddamn heroin junkies.
Everybody's got IV shots. Yeah, but we know how to give an IV, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, we went off in the weeds.
we
there.
did go off in the weeds there. The congressional hearing led by Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't really care for her, but she has some good ideas. Despite being one of the pioneers being mRNA technology, Malone had been speaking out against the use of the shots in public. He argued that the shots are unsafe and should never be used on humans. Yes, they weren't tested.
Well, hang on. One
We're
of
going to
the
do a whole show on Big Pharma, by the way.
the boosters, they were tested on 8 mice.
Yeah, well, that's...
We need to work on your definition of tested.
I recognize the sigh of defeat. I've heard that thousands of times.
I have one of my biggest frustrations leaving the military and dealing with civilians.
Yes.
Oh, but we tested that.
No, we didn't. But here's the thing. We've had individuals literally get the shot, get very sick,
Yes.
and then we had a bunch of people dropping dead on camera.
Yes.
Now, listen. All right. If you are in college and below and you're an athlete, yes, from time to time, somebody's going to get their life card pulled and they're going to drop dead on the field.
Not
just-
like this.
It's just numbers. This
Not like this.
is something else.
Yeah.
We had comedians falling out on stage, people having strokes in front of the camera. Every single day I was turning
Soccer
on.
players in their peak.
Yeah. Listen, if you're a soccer player playing at a professional level, you are at the top of your physical game.
Those European soccer players.
They sprint all day long.
Yeah, I'm not a football fan, but
Neither am I.
those European soccer players are like thoroughbred stallions.
Yes.
They really are.
And when
They're in incredible shape.
and when one drops dead, everyone's like, "Oh, what's
It was
going
like
on?"
10 of them, though.
We had I don't even know how many. Hopefully there's somebody out there keeping count of all the professional athletes who dropped dead because of this, because it was a lot.
Does anybody out there in the chat know of a dead athlete scoreboard? Somebody out there in the chat. I know one of you autists knows where to find this.
You know what? That would be a good video for us.
We'd get pulled right away.
Dead athlete scoreboard.
YouTube would smoke us. If we did that.
You're probably right.
Absolutely would smoke us if we did that.
Yeah, you're right.
I still want to see those numbers, though.
Yeah, so do I.
During the hearing, Malone revealed how new Moderna patients show that its vaccine vials contain billions of DNA fragments and other contaminants linked to birth defects and cancer. At the hearing, Malone spoke about how Moderna acknowledges in its patent that the RNA was preferable to DNA in vaccines because of the risks involved, but that the company's mRNA injection, which was administered to tens of millions of people, is contaminated with the latter. Moderna has a patent on the use of RNA for vaccines, and in that, Moderna specifically acknowledges that RNA is superior to DNA for vaccine purposes because problems including the possibility of insertional mutagenesis, I'm sure that's a very complicated and dangerous thing, that could lead to the activation of oncogenes, which is a cancer gene. I recognize onco from oncology there, or the Latin, you need Latin, or the inactivation of tumor suppressor genes. So, look, basically, these big pharma companies knew they were doing this to you.
Yeah.
They knew they were doing this, but that's going to be okay because we're making millions of dollars.
Billions.
Nobody paid for those shots. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the government paid for those shots, which means you paid for those shots.
You paid for those shots.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.